I flew back to Seattle, and then I logged in from the SeaTac airport. And I was going to just call in and find the engineer and say, how are things going? Are there any problems? What's going on? So I log in, and I'm trying to find the engineer, and all of a sudden Vic pings me on IM and sends me a link. And then I hit the link, and I'm thrown into the Hangout, and there's Vic with this big glass of wine and like 8 or 9 other people, and he says, Chee! And then he introduces me to all the other people on Google+, most of which I didn't know. And then that Hangout happened. And that Hangout persisted until about 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey guys.
Hey, Chee.
Oh, I have a question. Okay, and a lot of people have this question. So do Google watch all, or do they don't keep all of the Hangouts? Like, you guys can't go back because they said it's just like too much. It's just too much to just like.
I mean, the videos?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, the videos run as a relay through our servers, so we don't record them unless it's one of these recordings. So it's not possible for us to go see it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Alright guys, we had like 7 of you join the Hangout. If you don't start talking, I'm going to boot all of you.
Hey, yeah, Peter, what's up? What's going on? Good interview, good stuff. I see you got Coca-Cola behind it. Coca-Cola, not the official sponsor. Not the official sponsor.
Yeah, we have very flat org structures at Google. So at one point I had 70-something direct reports, and I had to write like 90 performance reviews for one time. So one of the guys in my team bought me this Coke. This is like 90 reviews to write. You deserve a Coke. So that was. I haven't drunk it yet.
No, you haven't. Wow. And you have 4 different glasses to choose from.
Oh yeah, I love these big, huge steins. So.
They're bigger than your head. That's pretty cool.
They are bigger than my head.
It's kind of close.
Yeah.
So, Chee, you had mentioned the block feature, and I just wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit. And you know, the kick is kind of like the most requested feature. Do you feel that block has done enough to moderate the rooms? Is it that catch-all that helps? Because I mean, a lot of times we get a lot of people in these public hangouts that will just lurk in the room even if we block them. So they take up, take up
Right.
seats.
Right.
But people that want to participate in a positive way can't get in because that person won't leave. Or if we lose connection, we can't get back in unless we unblock them.
Right. So I think that it has done a lot to reduce the instances. I think we've learned enough that I think that we're kind of on the right track. But I think there's more we ought to do. So for example, when someone blocks someone else, other people might not be aware that you can, and like how do they block them as well? So I think it should be much easier for people to essentially +1 a block. Like Joe blocked Frank.
Doing that.
Yeah, and then like
And sharing it.
Yeah, so like we ought to make it easier for people to sort of join in and agree to that. And if everyone blocks as an individual, then there's no reason for them to be in the room anymore, right?
Or report them if they're that bad. Like
Unless they're trying to, because that's the big thing, is they'll go AFK and leave themselves in the room and take a seat.
So we're talking about things like if everyone does indeed block an individual, so that person can't really do anything other than take up a seat, then after a very short period, we should probably just drop them from the Hangout. So I think that to answer your question, I think that we're on the right track, but I think there's more we ought to do.
Awesome.
And a follow-up to what he's saying is, when we go public, I think the big thing is that we all speak English, and we go public. There's a large community around the world that use Hangouts, and there's a large community in the Middle East and Asia, and a lot of people join us that are from all over the world, and it's really hard to figure out how to communicate with them, different cultures, different languages, and there's a lot of that happens, and there's no like real great answer to that just yet for, just trying to figure out how to interact and how to be in the same room, and I mean, what are your feelings about those you've been in those kind of Hangouts, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about, like, it just feels like we're either trying to communicate in some kind of weird way, like we speak slower, they can't understand us either, like, so it's like, it could be frustrating in those situations with public.
Yeah, actually that's do you speak Klingon? So that's actually one of the that scenario is one of the ones where I actively don't want to have kick, right? So like, so I used to work in Xbox Live, and you have these things where if someone comes in and they don't speak your language, then the quick thing is you just reject them. You just kick them out, right? And the spirit of Hangout is to bring people together. So frankly, I would rather facilitate social dynamics to sort of step forward and have people try to work it out, right? And at the end of the day, if people aren't able to communicate, I kind of believe that people are in general kind of good-natured. And if people aren't able to communicate, then like one or the other person will go away and it will resolve itself. And or like especially with the platform that we're building, people will build in tools, and someone at some point will build in a translate tool, and people will work through translation. So I want to facilitate that sort of thing happening to bring people together, as opposed to throwing a big hammer that lets people cleave it apart.
Cool.
I got a question, Chee.
Yeah.
Will you guys be ever implementing any additional audio controls on the Hangouts? As far as like, you know, if someone sends you a link to like a video or something else that has audio and they want to listen to it, they want to mute the whole Hangout without having to go down to the mixer, you know, bar on the on toolbar at the bottom and mute everyone that way.
Yeah.
Easier to use.
Yeah, you know, I think that that's also really interesting for the broadcast case.
Right.
Like in broadcast, you want to have interesting fine-grained controls over audio, especially if you have someone who joins in and their microphone is really loud, or someone who's really soft. You want to amp them up or down. But at the same time, this is one of the challenges we have. I think there are lots of really valid use cases where we want to facilitate that, but I don't want to clutter the UI and make the UI really complicated to handle that, because there's probably like 1% of the audience who would actually use it, understand it, and value that. So what we're doing instead is we've exposed volume audio controls in the API, and then we and or our third party can write an app that you can choose. If you care about that, you can choose to add that to your Hangout, and then you can get those controls, and other people can like not have to have that be cluttered. Right. So we have audio APIs already exposed in Hangouts. We haven't launched the Hangout platform, so you can't add the apps right now, but developers are already building apps.
Okay. Excellent.
All right. A quick question about the G Plus mobile. My friend, for example, was on an iPad too, and he invited me, and the only way I could find out how to join it was through my iPhone.
Messenger? Yeah.
Yeah. Or would it be possible, or do you guys plan on making it to where I can join on my computer? Because the iPhone, I mean, I was like texting people and doing other things, and I didn't just want to use it solely for that. So. Right.
So he created it from Messenger, right?
From his iPad.
Yeah. So probably from the Messenger G Plus app within his iPad. Yeah. Right now we have some, I guess, technical limitations that I won't bore you with, that sort of prevent all the devices and the desktop from working super well with each other. We're working through those, and we want to make those joinable from anywhere as soon as we can. This is going to take us a little bit longer to do, but we definitely want to solve that.
Okay.
Wow, a lot of chat going on.
Yeah, no. Oh, the chat box.
Yeah, in the chat box.
Robert, did you have anything? You've been quiet.
Yes, I wanted to ask, first say thank you that you keep G Plus and especially the Hangout so democratic, that it's always a one-to-one person decision. So maybe this will be the next form of government when we go online with our whole life. And my question is, the democratic style of G Plus and the Hangouts is quite the opposite of what the governments and the big corporations want to do with all the SOPA discussions. So how long do you think you can keep up this spirit? Do you see any scenarios coming up where that gets hard to solve?
You know, like, I think that there are very valid scenarios where you don't want a democratic setting. I think, like, businesses, when you have a business as, like, in a productivity use case, and the conversation more structured, you can not only do you want sort of control there, but you can, since it's naturally structured by the nature of the business, then you can handle also a larger audience. Like if you think about it, if you're in a social setting, having a conversation with 5 or 6 people is kind of natural. But if you're in a business meeting, you can actually have a 10, 15, 20-person conversation because it's essentially moderated. So so I think at some point when we really want to focus on that scenario, then we'll introduce these sort of controls. But I want to be careful that we do it in such a way that it doesn't contaminate social hangouts. And that's the challenge that we have right now. How do we facilitate one without damaging the other?
Yeah, and for the on-air hangouts, I've seen there are some legal questions. So what are, after the first weeks, what are the examples that people should avoid while they are doing hosting an on-air hangout? What the average user may not think about?
I think that one of the things that we're we're sensitive to a lot of any illegal activity. We're essentially sensitive to, especially with regards to local laws, and that's one of the challenges. Like we have to look at local laws around the world and see how they apply. But one of the common things is pay attention to IP rights, like to rebroadcast. Everyone sees sports, and you like remember when you watch sports, they have this big like disclaimer: any rebroadcast or unauthorized use without the written consent of the blah 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 is prohibited. Like, okay, this would be considered a rebroadcast, so don't rebroadcast anything that you don't have the rights to rebroadcast. Right? That's the thing that we're sensitive about. I think people might not realize. So that's one of the reasons why we have a limited set of people who we've actually interacted with and educated them about some of these constraints.
So Chee, then my question to follow up on that would be, for example, I have a lot of Creative Commons content that I would like to use in the live hangouts. You know, I talked to you beforehand about being able to play some music in the background as we were getting started. Right. Can I rest assured that that Creative Commons content is not going to be flagged when using that in the on-air?
Well, we will, for lots of reasons, refrain from giving legal advice on whether you should or shouldn't do a specific piece of music or anything like that. I think that we point people to a lot of the guidelines that YouTube has already posted around YouTube Live, and the guidelines that are posted around YouTube Live hold for Hangouts on air as well. I think that if you take a look at the fair use laws, especially here in the U.S., they actually address a lot of this sort of stuff, where it's fair to use it if you're adding value to it, and you're not sort of detracting from the value of the publisher or whoever owns the copyright IP. So I think that's an important thing to do. Just make sure that you abide by fair use laws, and also you can look at the YouTube Live guidelines as a guiding post.